13 years ago, my principal called me as I was driving home during the summer, and she said, "Norman, do you have an open mind? If your boss calls you and you answer yes to that question, be careful to what you just answered." I had told my principal the year before I wanted to start something new. I was tired of teaching the same course over and over and had been for 20 years. So she asked me to start the robotics program. I'm a previous high school basketball coach and science teacher. And I said, I can't program a robot. I can't design a robot, but I can build a team. She said, that's all I want you to do. So we started a robotics program. Little did I know what would come of that. Some of my closest and dearest friends are here today with me from other schools and other states that I've met through robotics. Robotics is the future. Robotics in schools is an incredible opportunity. Our students are getting to experience things that we've never gotten to experience before. There are over 1.6 million kids in the world that competed in two of the biggest robotics contests called VEX and FIRST. 1.6 million students last year. That goes from kindergarten through college. So the things that they're being exposed to today about robots and robotics and programming and design and problem solving is happening in the schools all the way down to 3- and 4-year-olds who are learning to program and code. Robotics is the greatest activity that kids can get to a real-world solution in a high-stakes testing world. There's not a right answer, exact right answer. The wrong answer is just because you failed this one time, but you get to go back and do it again. So I was asked to talk about the future of robotics in our society, and I started thinking about that, and I did a little research. 50% of the world's population is under 30. Now, if I were to ask my mother, what does she think about robots? She thinks it's pretty cool because her son gets to do it. But I would get comments from individuals like her in their late 70s of, people are going to lose their jobs. Careers are going to be done away with. But then she also reminded me and said, when the typewriter was invented, secretaries were worried about their job. Production increased. With the introduction of computers, production increased. With 50% of the population of the world being under 30, they're going to embrace robots. They're going to embrace artificial intelligence. They have it every single day. I asked my kids on the way over this morning that rode with me in the truck, and I asked a show of hands from the audience here, raise your hand if you licked a stamp to put on an envelope. So look around the room. My students are sitting right up here. How many students' hands are up? The world is transforming. The things that we think about as adults is different than our students. If you were to look at the world population, China is the 5th largest population in the world behind social media platforms. Facebook is the number 1 population in the world. United States is number 7 in the world population-wise behind 5 different social media platforms. Our students have embraced it. It's the future. 2 other teachers here that are today with me, Adrian Emerson from 148 Robo Wranglers out of Greenville, Texas. Adrian was on a high school robotics team that paid her way to college through scholarships, and now she represents 500 students in a single school in robots. Her fellow teacher, George Cronky, George was a parent. His daughter was on the robotics team. He later became a teacher in the program. His younger daughter graduated. She's now at WPI. Their lives were transformed as students. those 2 lives as adults were transformed like mine. And it was all because of robotics. So what does robotics do? There's some key parts that it brings to the table. Number 1, coding, computer science. Here in the great state of Texas, 25% of the high schools offer computer science or coding. How can the world evolve and how can students survive if we don't give them an opportunity to compete? 25% of the schools in the state of Texas only offer computer science. And some schools offer 2, maybe 3 sections. So coding is real important. Making, our kids run maker spaces, 3D printers, CNCs. You can look online and you can take training online. Career skills, problem solving, design work, programming. So robotics is definitely something that can take and improve the future. So what's the connection to you in here today? We need coaches. We need mentors. You need to embrace supporting the local schools. You need to embrace supporting the local programs. I had 47 professional volunteer coaches in our program last year that came in and volunteered time after school. I still can't program, and I'm never going to program. I have volunteers that come in and teach my kids. They're professional coaches. So I want to encourage you as a takeaway today, go home and find out how can you get involved in your local school and your local community, because they, as students, have embraced this idea. Thank you very much.